Hello YouTube, this is Black Thought, where I ramble podcast style about a Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia topic. The topic for today is the content for the month of February 2021 in the global version of the game. I will be doing an overview with my perspective having played this period in the Japanese version, highlighting some gotchas and outlining my poll plans. Before I continue, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, share this video around, and drop a comment about your plans for the month. Only 30% of my viewers on average are subscribed. I play both JP and Global, and I upload daily content with some fun stuff in between. I will be interacting with all the comments, so don't hesitate to ask questions. Additionally, I do monthly JP retrospectives on content right after it releases to give my initial takes that are fun to revisit down the line. I'm going to link that as well so you can see how I felt about the content right after it was fresh and how my opinions have possibly evolved since then. Everything here is my opinion and my impression. Don't take it as fact. I screw up things all the time. I frequently synergy stomp content, and sometimes my perspective might be a little skewed, so it's good to always double check your sources. If you hear it from me and you're not quite sure, just remember to go look on your own. It's always learning how to research on your own is the best fact, but I try and give it to you guys from what I know. Anywho, not my prelude. LD boards are starting. They are 3,000 character board points to extend the LD. This is equivalent to like a C50 or a C60, C65 or a C60. So it's 8K total to get a character to their max potential now. So if you don't have Mod Pass, you're free to play. And you haven't been being careful with your character board points, you really need to start clamping it down, because it's going to require a bit more to get the characters you want to their max potential. If a character has an LD on a banner going forward, they are going to have or receive LD boards. The 2-week synergy LD, for example, Ramza, they will only be on one banner. They're no longer spread across. Their LD is no longer spread across the two. Like Furion had his LD on both banners. It's just one banner, and it's the one that they share with their EX. The trend is one new LD and then on one banner, and one old LD getting boards on the other banner. Both will get or already have LD boards, and I'm going to be covering units assuming you max their LD board fully, because that's the expectation from here on out. Additionally, with LD boards, we're receiving LD calls. So the call abilities we get now, there is an LD version of a call, which is extremely powerful and opens up a lot new avenues for play. Maxing these LD boards lets you access the call version of an LD ability. They're usually not quite the same, but they're pretty similar. Sometimes the LD calls have different debuff durations or buff durations, or don't hit as hard, blah blah, but pretty much they're the same with some nuance. These are generally loaded and enable a lot of creative team shenanigans. Anyone that is 80 can use an LD call, same with the ability to use a regular call. It takes up another skill slot. You can use both a call and an LD call during battle, but you can't stack their effects. If both calls have effects, only one can be active at a time. You're also getting the global first LD. Check out my guesses if you haven't done that already. It was a fun little video I did. I enjoyed making it, and I'm sure you guys would too. And you can go there and leave who you think it'll be the global first, because I'm recording this right now, the day before the live stream. I'm trying to get this get ahead of the game with my poll plans. Quality of life, I'm hoping for auto plus on everything, where you get to use skills instead of just brave and HP attacks for the auto battle. I'm also hoping for 10 ticket pulls and the wave easier restart or battle restart quality of life. Yeah, that'd be great. The Dimensions End 20 campaign is also coming up. Hopefully, if they keep it aligned with JP, we'll be getting 60k gems, at least 5 ingots of each type, I think. I don't remember the exact rewards. They were fat. If you're not caught up in Dimensions End, I have my Dimensions End, How to Beat Dimensions End playlist, excluding 4 and 5. Don't worry about it. So get to it if you haven't already. Always community is willing to help. Join the TCC Discord, the Crystal Chronicles Discord. I'm usually hanging out in there, and we can help you out getting through Dimensions End. Divine boards are starting. I explained those as well, along with auto farming them, which is possible given the right team, and I'll link that as well. But overall, I'm going to try and move because I'm doing this video early, I'm going to try and move my my quality of life and stream recap to a separate video, to one Melkin on the views, hashtag not a charity, and also just so I can get this out in advance again, like I said before. Now, starting off with the actual content. We have Divine Diabolos. I actually don't know if they're going to localize it differently, but assuming the translation stays the same, it is divine. We are getting Ramza. He's getting an LD, a rework, a burst, and high armor. His high armor is the support one. Break the damage cap by, or HP damage cap by 5%. His rework gives him more utility. So shout. His skill 1 is now an instant break. It's not a re-break, just that the enemy has a ton of brave, like they gain a massive amount of brave. Ramza will pop them immediately. That's pretty cool. His skill 2, galvanize, now heals. I think it's 20% of max HP, so it's an okay burst heal. And his brave plus now heals the party for I think it's 10% of max HP, but he's got pocket heals now. So, and his LD gives him the ability to launch. It does a double dump and it batteries the party and it delays the target 1 turn. So now he's a delayer and a launcher. The LD overhead is some good auras up. I think it's gained overflow and ibrave and mbrave and additional regen. I don't quite remember for sure, but it's whatever it does, it's good stuff. And his burst, it provides the party +5 to attack, max brave, and ibrave based on active party buffs. So per each buff that's active on the party, you get a +5. And so if you have 18 total buffs on the party, which is the theoretical max, you could have 90% up to attack, mbrave, and ibrave, which is pretty good. He went from one of the worst friend units to now an excellent friend unit with the launch ability and that loaded burst. Additionally, on the second banner, Machina is returning with his LD boards, high armor, and 80. His LD now gets a double HP attack, and then the debuff is applied before the attack. And this means that he will trigger his follow-up right after he uses LD, which effectively turns it into a triple HP attack. So we went from 1 HP that capped easily to 3 HP attacks. His follow-ups get a brave gain before the brave hits, so now he's doing more damage on his follow-ups. So, and he's getting high armor, the damage armor, which means he can break the cap. Machina usually doesn't hit too hard, so it's harder for him to hit that cap, but usually if he's capping on like his EX or skill 2 or something, and then that's something good to have. His LD, no, let me rewind. His call ability is skill 2, and it gives the caller a 40% crit damage up, which is amazing. That's almost Saz levels, and his LD call is an attack buff. What's really cool is that you can throw out his LD call, and it'll apply the debuff. And if you use his call ability afterwards, the regular call attack will actually follow up with the follow-up as well, assuming that the debuff is still up. So that's pretty handy if you were to chain them together and time it correctly. Freya, Maria, Pain, and Ida are also getting 80 in call. Freya is an HP regen, Maria is a burst heal with an attack up to the party, Pain just drops her debuff, and Ida is, I think it's an attack and max brave, yeah. And then there's just divine boards. Again, I made a video on that. Please check it out. I explained it all. I showed how you can auto plus through the entire farm, so you don't have to press a button besides restart battle. It's amazing. Machina will be a godly farmer for this. I have both. I'm gonna get Ramza and spoiler, and I have Machina already. I'm gonna LD board him. So when I'll be autoing like a boss, bro. I'm not gonna be paying any attention. You don't need books. Again, it goes real quick. It's a way better farming process, but you got to do it on release or wait for a couple months from now when they rerun Divine Synergy. Anywho, my polls and thoughts. Going straight for Ramza LD, gems, needed for the farm. I love Ramza already. I don't want anything in his burst cycle, so I'm going to token his burst. I have enough burst tokens to do that. I have Machina already, so there's no reason to pull on his other banner. I need some pain dupes, but if there's a free pull, I hope it blesses me for some pain dupes, but otherwise, whatever. I have everything else on these banners. As soon as I get Ramza's LD, like I said, I'm pulling out and just going to token him. Unless there's free pulls, nah, I'll just token it. Anywho, but Ramza's really good. All that utility that he has now, he's an amazing friend unit as a burst. He still got his free turn gimmick, which isn't as important in Lufenia, but his boost to the party, like that gained overflow stuff, is very handy for him to have because he won't cap his battery often or cap his regen. Machina is also a great damage dealer. His damage skyrockets now, and now he has access to 80, so you can do some fun shenanigans with him. His LD call is also fantastic as a damage booster if someone who has a lot of hits and they can benefit from the crit damage up. As for the Lufenia, one, I love this music and the fight. I think I love the fight because of the music, but this fight is the aesthetic for the fight is cool. I like how they redesigned Diabolos, And I don't know. I just have fond memories of this fight. The orb is to apply 6 buffs at once. So there's specific characters that can do this. This would be like Selfie, Penelo, Saz, and Beatrix. Beatrix is kind of has an asterisk on her because there's an element absorb part of this fight. But her call, since her call applies buffs as well, her call can work to pocket, help out the orb. It's got some other tricks. It goes into an element absorb mode, and I forget how to turn that off. But there's also a phase where it's going to cleanse debuffs and become debuff immune, I believe. Not quite sure. And it needs to be launched to ditch the aura, and the launch has to deal 200,000 HP damage. So you need to bring someone that can get units in the air, or you can rely on chasing over time, or you can bring chase calls. But he has a phase where he gains a lot of brave, a brave reduction phase 2, and he needs to get turns to let go of it. And if you don't launch him when he goes into that phase saying launch me, then you get dispelled and HP attacked, and you'll probably die. And you don't want that to happen. You might be able to survive it if you're lucky enough, but just know that there is a dispel on this fight. And JP, and I'm glad I can point to my runs now because I finally told myself to pick up the slack from recording. I ran Rude, Caius, and Ramza. You can search that if you want. In GL, I'm probably going to run Ramza, Machina, and Warrior Light just because I want to use Machina with his LD boards. Fresh new toys. Warrior Light for the shields. Now that Ramza is buffing iBrave even more. Well, no, Ramza's buffing iBrave. He has gained overflow for Warrior Light. We're going to be in synergy. And Diabolos Summon is getting reworked to be a 50% iBrave up. That's going to be a very fun combo. My shields are going to be fat. And the speed down stacking between Ramza and Machina will be great. As for the challenge, I don't remember this being problematic. And I ran full purple Ramza, Freya, Ida, and JP. GL, I'm probably going to run Ramza, Freya, and Machina because that's who I have built. Shouldn't be too bad. I'll have Ramza's burst, like I said, so it's whatever. And you can look that run up on my channel as well. Okay, Caius Lost Chapter. Caius is getting a LD, rework, and high armor. His rework makes him hit weak damage on skills. It's 50% damage up to debuff targets. He gets more skill uses. I think it's 2 more skill 1 and 1 more skill 2, so he's got a lot more longevity. His debuffs got stronger as well. His mbrave and defense down. His mbrave is now, they're both 50% debuffs instead of 30%, which is what they were before, I believe. His LD buffs his overhead. It gives it an additional attack and mbrave, and the stats stay after he loses it. So it's just a res. Pretty much is just there for cool lore reasons, and if he dies once, he'll come back, but he won't get penalized for it, so that's cool. He gets debuff start on LD as well, so he'll come in, especially if he's called, he'll come in and apply his 4 debuffs. He gets a free skill after using LD, and it's a triple dump that insta breaks and or re-breaks if Doom is active. So this could potentially be good unless you're running him with a lot of other frame debuffs and you can't apply Doom. Then it won't instant break, it will just attack, which is kind of whack. His call ability is his skill 2 and it applies his 4 debuffs including Doom. His LD call, with debuff start, if you have it on, it turns his LD call into an insta break, re-break, provided you can fit his debuffs. I think Caius is the only instant break call we're gonna have for a minute, so that's incredible utility. In fact, he might be the only LD with an insta break. Period. I can't. Oh wait, well Ramza, but Ramza can't call in and do it. And Caius insta break is AOE, so yeah, that he has that going for him. Now my polls and my thoughts. I'm skipping. I like Caius. I like his kit. I tried to make it work, but ultimately I didn't find it very fun. I don't like the debuff cluttering because that ruins a lot of team building options. Doom is still niche. It's good for turn control, but I was never patient enough to try and use it to its full potential. I tried, like I said, I tried to showcase him a ton of JP, but I wasn't having fun, so I didn't do it. I didn't even like his call because the debuff spam and getting in my way was insane. And if you watch my content around this time, JP wise, I complained a lot about how there were too many debuffs. Everyone and their mom is getting a debuff, and it just became hard to put Caius in a team with people who didn't also rely on debuffs or who couldn't shut it out. However, the Alphano on YouTube does a lot of Caius runs. So before anyone calls Caius bad and says he falls off, all the usual garbage from people who don't do enough research, he has tons of viability. He's done so many Caius runs. Show him some love. Look up his Caius videos. Say I sent you, blah, blah, blah. Just not my cup of tea personally for Caius, but this man has made him work. Very talented. I know, again, I shout out Yoshi Pasta because he did a crap ton of Caius runs in Global, showing me how useful he can be. Again, not my thing, but I'm going to enjoy others showing their creativity through him. Caius is getting a damage high armor as well, and some are like, oh, why didn't he get the debuff one? Well, Caius is primarily damage dealer with his debuff, so I'm glad he is getting higher damage potential, and you can be just weakness enchanted and other stuff, and he can hit harder. So good character, not my cup of tea. Probably not a lot of characters' cup of tea just because of the debuffs. Same problem as Omnia, but it is what it is. His Lufenia is range and magic resist. I think the original, no, I don't think the original Chaos was like that. It is a debuff orb. We need to apply at least 4 debuffs in one turn, and that'll take the orb up by 4 on each target, I believe, or maybe I think it's just per target. No. It's 4 or more debuffs per turn, which means you can inflict 2 on each target, and that'll plus 4 on both. I think if you use Caius, since he applies 4 debuffs at once, it might be plus 8 on each target, but I can't confirm that for sure. You also need to launch him launch the bosses with at least 100k damage when they turn blue, or else you get dispelled and you get smacked. That's no good. So you need a launcher. They turn red and they get Zac shields, which means you need to get past the shield, you need to insta break it. And I think the value they gain is so high that it's just impossible to do brave damage. I think I was watching a video a little back, and their shield was like 70k, but it's a Zac shield. So that means you just have to instant break it, or you have to eat the damage, or you have to sap it away, or something like that. So Kefka, people who apply 4 debuffs in one turn are godly here. Kefka, if you don't want Caius, Kefka, X-Death, Zidane. Dark Knight Cecil actually does this because he applies his HP damage up and Dark Imperil at the same time, so that's good. Total might be good here, maybe. No, she doesn't apply 4 debuffs in one turn. Yeah, not 2 AoE. So yeah, Kefka, Zidane is actually excellent coverage here because he's got the launch for the blue phase and he's got 4 debuffs in one turn on his skills. I think it's just skill 1 that does it actually, but Gabronth can do the debuff, and he can instant break it when they get the Zac shield, so he's also very good here. So those are EX units that have great viability here. Can't wait to see some runs. Who did I run? I ran Caius, Ramza, and Camlanot here, so I synergy stomped it. Here in JP, I might run Ramza. I might run Gabronth and Warrior Light. I don't know if that's enough damage. I remember the turn count being slightly tight. It was like 70 turns. So maybe I'll run Zidane with a Warrior Light or maybe, yeah, we'll see when we get there. Anywho, the challenge is actually deceptively tanky, and it made me sad using Noel. In JP, I ran Noel, Ramza, Caius. I'm not getting Caius in Global this time around, so I'm just going to run Noel, Ramza, and Least. I purpled her a while, we'll go for the spear, and I have a lot of ingots. I didn't max her armor because I'm scared of the armor token shortage, but I might just knock it out if it proves too challenging. But again, I'll have Ramza's burst, so that shouldn't be a big problem. Guy's event. We have a new character, Guy. He's a guy. He is an Earth Enchanter, so he's the second one in the game. He is a tank. He provides party defense up. He has party heals, and his gimmick is post-turn mbrave based regen. So after you do an attack, you will do an mbrave based regen, but it'll be after your turn. So it's a bit of a cushion after you do an attack based on your mbrave. He has HP damage reduction for the party, and he taunts. His call ability is post-turn mbrave regen aura for the party, and his LD call is defense up plus HP damage reduction, and it applies Earth and Peril. His high armor is the support one, so the 5% attack and breaking the cap. Now for my he's pretty simple character. He doesn't do a lot of damage, and the Earth Enchant, and he has weakness damage up on his additional ability. And he's got great longevity. He doesn't really run out of skills because he's a 2-skill recast, and he gets a free use after using it. And a lot of the time it's easier to just use the C65 on the free skill, which is weakness damage up to boost the party some more. But his own damage isn't anything to go home about. Now for my opinion. So in JP, I notoriously spent 600-ish tickets on him to get him, and I didn't even want him in the first place, but the Lufenia was so restrictive that I kind of had to pull because I was stuck. I don't think he ages well. I'll go into that later, and Gao was enough to get me through the Lufenia because it's an Earth Orb, so I'm definitely skipping him. The reason that I say he doesn't age well is because Brave Gain Reduction gets introduced, which hurts him bad. His gimmick is 30% mbrave based recovery after the party's turn, and this is already kind of low, and it effectively makes you recover like 10k mbrave after the turn, and with Brave Gain Reduction, it effectively gets halved, so you're gaining 5k instead of 10k. His damage is not good, and while he is a party enchanter, he doesn't battery the party, he just heals and has HP damage reduction. Defense is pretty much a garbage stat in this game. You can bring him to a team. I'm not saying he won't be viable, but this is one of those times where I'm like, I don't think the majority of people would really enjoy him after a month or so. So if you listen to my warnings and pulled Gao on his lost chapter, like I said in advance, you're gonna be eaten here. The enchant is cool on Guy, but in the burst heals, and if you're getting smacked by HP attacks, it's a good option. He's a really good choice for tier 20, but in HP damage reduction orbs, and there's at least one in tier in Transcendence 3 if you're really trying to stretch it out. But playing defensively usually isn't the move on this game. You need specific teams to do that, and you need to make up for his damage. So, and again, he can still be viable. I ran him as late as Aroha's Aroha's story chapter, which is way out there. That's like right before Tifa. So, and others will stretch him out, but I don't care to, and I don't think many will. The Lufenia orb is Earth Orb. You need to do Earth damage to keep it up. And it's also range resist and magic resist. It increases by 2 when the target takes Earth damage, and the max is 10. So not only is it an Earth Orb, it's not a very, it's a very tight Earth Orb. These guys spam HP damage attacks. They have a mode where they take all your Brave and they do a huge Brave gain, and then they double dump HP attack. And you need to live through that. Double dumps again, kill takes. You need to live through this. It's very nasty. This thing is very biased towards Guy, and I predict people having trouble with this if they don't have Gao or they don't have Guy. Newsflash, the game has always been like this. The synergy bias has always been in place. It's just that Guy isn't hype, but he's also a key character for this fight. So, now, however, if you have Gao and you have Gladio, I'm pretty sure Gao, Gladio, Rude, Gao, Gladio, Fury, and everyone knows that combo by now. They clap this fight. All that off-turn damage knocks up the orbs. So you don't have to worry about anything. All you have to be worried about is eating the HP attacks. And with some super healing on the team and preparedness to eat HP attacks, you should be fine. And if you don't want him or Gao and you don't want to pull, it's a very rough damage race that usually ends up down to the wire. I've seen people do it, but you need a burst, probably. I'm sure someone's going to prove that you can do it without a burst and without earth damage on the team. Guy friends are very good here to try and clutch out the damage, but this is a very rough Lufenia, provided you don't have certain characters, which is the case for a lot of them. But just watch out for the Lufenia is easy crowd, because they might be on that clown stuff again. The challenge, I don't remember it being too restrictive, but I also ran Guy, Ramza, and Caius there, so triple LD synergy, so it might be a little rough. Right. Back to my Lufenia run. Lufenia, and again, you can look this run up. I have it on my channel. I did Ramza, Caius, and Guy. Did I? Or did I do Cam? No, I think I did Ramza, Cam, and Guy. Guy again trivializes the fight, so it's whatever. Without him, in GL, I'm gonna run Gladio, Gao, and Furion probably, just for the triple off-turn damage memes. As for the challenge, I'm going to run Ramza. Orin is synergy here, and Sync. I have her 0 to 3. I don't know if that's going to cut it. If it doesn't, I'll just max Sync, because I have enough ingots probably. Or I'll weapon token guys 35 or max one of his things, but I'll get through the challenge regardless. The Metal Challenge, I believe it is, and Ultimicia's Burst debut. Ultimicia is getting LD boards. She's getting level 80, and she's getting a burst. Her LD with boards now is a double HP attack with gravity on the first hit. Grants her an additional attack up, and it makes her recover her skill 2. So this increases her longevity by tons. What I like to do with ulti is open with skill 2 and then LD. That way you don't actually functionally waste the skill 2, and then I skill 1 until her EX is up. She's back to pretty much being able to skill spam because of that recovery. Her call ability is skill 2, it's pocket gravity, and applying her debuff, which is step. Her LD call is brave regen and attack up for herself. That's all right. She's mostly just as call wise, she's a pocket gravity unit now, which is situationally very, very good. Her burst is an excellent damage phase. I think it's like she can EX skill 2, LD skill 2. I think that was the math right. And yeah, you'll get a lot of damage out of that. And then her effect is that she deletes turns of whoever she touches. So use an AoE skill, and they're gone, Omnia Italian style. It can't be stopped unless we get the frame turns, which is coming next month, but that's to be discussed. She is now an excellent friend unit. She went from an awful friend unit to an excellent friend unit. She can get in, apply her debuff, BT, delete some turns, and get right back out because she's got the consecutive turns on her EX. Very, very handy. The new character here, however, is Penelo. She is getting an LD, 80 in high armor. Ulti already had high armor, by the way. It's just the debuff one. Her Penelo's LD, it Esna's the party. So she joins the rank of the Esna units along with Yuna, Cyan, and Yuffie. I think that's it. Baltier Esna's himself, if that counts, but whatever. It frames her party buffs. So now, if you were worried about debuff or buff clashing, she frames her buffs, so now they don't get in the way. You know exactly what's what. It gives her an overhead that is an ibrave, mbrave, and gained overflow up for the party. Very useful. Her call, you already know it already. It's just brave and HP regen. Her LD call now is a pocket cleanse, and then the effect is her overhead effect. So ibrave, mbrave, and gained overflow up for the party. The LD call hits like garbage for some reason, but when she's actually in the party, the LD actually does decent damage. Oh, the LD is just it's a magic attack, and it's 100% AoE, so that's cool. Anything? Oh yeah, and Penelo's getting the support armor, I believe, not the brave gain armor, which is whatever. Now for my opinion and polls. Penelo LD makes her better at what she does. She has gained overflow, so she doesn't lead brave as hard, and she batteries others as harder as well. Her buffs don't get pushed off because she frames them, and she cleanses to help the party keep her buffs up, and she can potentially also prevent debuffs by the fact that hers aren't getting pushed off anymore because they're framed. She's not super outstanding, but she's a good unit, and if you're stuck on Divine Diabolos and you need a buff unit, this will help you out a ton. I already have ulti, so I will be getting her LD boards and not pulling, and I won't be chasing her burst. Penelo is also going to be very good. Is it next month for the Sayador chapter, Act 3, Chapter 1, Part 2, and the orb is cleansed. So bringing Penelo there is very, very handy. I recommend getting her. She's a very excellent unit, especially for like helping out X-Death with the Brave Gain Overflow and Warrior Light. Yeah, definitely. She got some good combinations. Warrior Light, Ramza, Penelo sounds like a meme team, but I want to try it out. Leviathan, it's the Afmal boss, but it's a bit nastier. It's range resist, and it's a damage race to get the orb off functionally, because the orb only goes. The orb is +1 when the boss has below 20k brave. Yeah, that's right. Which is essentially the orb doesn't move until it takes a turn. So you want the enemy to get as few turns as possible. And this is encouraging ulti and Penelo in different reasons. It's encouraging ulti because the ulti has her consecutive turns, and the more ulti takes turns, the less the boss is taking turns. So she is encouraged to skill spam and nuke this guy down. Penelo and her speed up makes you take more turns than the boss. The adds are an even tighter damage race. Their orb can't be changed at all. You just need to kill them, or else they will kill you. So you need good AoE damage, 100% AoE, splash damage, all that good stuff. Splash split, anything AoE will shine here. Deleting the turns and getting them out of here, making them take as few turns as possible is the optimal strategy. When the boss floats, it's going to apply a bunch of nasty frame debuffs. So one, you could block them out with Penelo's frame debuffs or anyone else's frame, not Penelo's frame buffs, I should say. But if you do get hit with the debuffs, you could cleanse them with Penelo, or I guess Cyan, so shout out to Necklord, or Yuna. I might try and do a Yuna run. But honestly, having played JP Yuna now, it's kind of hard to go back to the current iteration of Yuna. Sorry. Yeah, the Lufeni is fairly tricky. And if you're not careful, and I think it has some dispel in this fight. I think there's an unavoidable dispel. So Penelo having her trash frame buffs up, and it dispels the most recently applied buff, I believe. So if you throw Penelo's buffs, I should say, those will get dispelled, and those are cheap, so they don't screw you over. So yeah, they're really pushing Penelo hard here. JP, ran Ulti, Penelo, and Guy, I think. And they destroyed it, but without synergy, I think this fight's fairly restrictive again. So, again, know what's coming. Know that the synergy bias is there. Learn how to play the game around it. Blah blah blah. The challenge, I don't remember anything about the challenge, which means it was probably garbage. But I also did run Ulti and Penelo, and Thancred, I believe. Global, I'm probably gonna just run my 0-3 Papa and Penelo, and then Ulti. It's whatever. Next up, we got Jack's Lost Chapter. Jack is getting an LD, 80, high armor, no rework. His LD gives him an insta break and a godly debuff that I'm sure you heard of by now if you're tuned into the community though. It is at full stacks, I think it's a 50% max, no, not max brave, 50% defense down and 30% brave damage done up by the party. Why am I blanking on how to describe it? Anyway, you do 30% more brave damage when you do it. This is arguably one of the best debuffs in the game, and it's hyped for that reason. Jack is a good unit on his own, but that debuff really is something else. It makes you hit so hard, and his regular call is just damage, but the LD call puts up the debuff, and it's an insta break, single target on demand, and it splashes double dunk, I believe. In my opinion, I am not interested in him. I think the debuff is fantastic, but I think it's also overrated, and you can live without it. I do not recommend pulling just for calls. Maybe if I can clutch him on a free pull or something, I'd be interested, but I think he's all right, but I think school in type 0 too, but I can honestly live without him. I don't think you should pull for calls, ever. Bad idea. Pull for units that you can use their calls as a consequence of having them in your roster. He's coming back with Leon's LD, and I'd rather go in on that banner and potentially get the gold debuff. And that banner also has Tidus Burst, so that banner is just way more value in my opinion if I'm going to use him just as a call. And that's what I did in JP, and I feel fine. I don't feel bad for having skipped him. Sure, he would have been useful, but I don't think I really would have ever wanted him in my party. So yeah, he's a good damage dealer. He's still Jack. He has the turn manipulation, so he works. His LD is pretty much a work better button. Do more. I forget the terminology for that, but he's good. He's real good, but I don't think I want to use him. The Lufenia, it's a simple orb and it's a melee freeze. So simple orb, but there's a bit more nuance to the fight. They get fat warrior light shields at some point, and when they have the shields, you can't do melee damage, so you can't freeze the orbs. You need to take down the shield as much as possible. And that's where Jack's debuff comes in. Also Jack in general, because he has that whole crit damage up when on hitting a target that he's not doing damage to, plus that debuff, which means he'll just cut that shield down like it's nothing. Ramza is synergy here as well, so you're getting more mileage out of him. Ultimicia's consecutive turns are supposed to be good while the orb is frozen. She blows them up, and Ultimicia also has defense down, and she could potentially delete them. So you freeze the turns, freeze the orb for a while. They become immune to delay at some point, I think. I don't remember when. But this fight got memed on pretty hard with people who pulled Jack. You really just need a good melee unit. Obviously, Jack will carry it, but it's entirely possible to do without synergy. I think this is one of the more tame fights, but still definitely restrictive if you don't have certain units. Also, it's a Thunder Absorb. So while you can, Reno's definitely out here. His debuff, as a call, his debuff is godly here. But you can't bring Reno's out. Sorry, guys. And Lightning's gonna have a hard time here, so you probably can't herb derp Lightning through this. In JP, I ran Caius, Guy, and Ramza, and ran out of debuff slots like an idiot. GL, I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know who I'm gonna run. Definitely gonna run Ramza. For the second, I don't know. I honestly don't know, so I'll have to think about that later. I'll figure it out when I get there. The challenge, Ignis is synergy as well. So JP, I ran Ignis, Ultimicia, Ramza. I'm going to repeat that. My Ignis is 0-3. Shouldn't be too tricky. But yeah, overall, this this Lost Chapter is probably a bit of a breather for most of the community, but we have some fun stuff coming up next, so stay tuned. Now we have Dimensions End 20. This is getting a banner and sort of a mid-release cycle on its own, so it's worth covering. Kryl is the winner here. She gets a rework LD high armor, which is Unity. Her rework made skill 1 free, 0 action delay, it's instant, and her skill 2 gets splash damage. And her brave and HP attacks now battery the party, so now she is an even better battery and an even better damage dealer. This is a good rework. Her LD gives her party buff start, which is the weak damage up generic buff. Gives her more attack aura. Her LD, once it's used, gives her a buff that gives the party thunder enchant. So yet another thunder enchanter. It applies a 1-turn trap and thunder imperil. So the trap and the thunder imperil are separate debuffs, I should say. It's a 1-turn trap that triggers a paralyze right afterwards. So after they attack, the trap's gonna go off. It's gonna damage them, HP damage them, and then it's gonna paralyze them right after. So she now has the paralyze utility on top of thunder enchant and imperil. Her new buff also gives the party gained and stolen overflow, so her batteries won't leak as hard, and the brave attacks that the others do will overflow better, and it lets her not drop below 10% mbrave, kind of like Vaughn's burst effect. So that's an indirect buff to her damage on her EX, because she'll always inherently do more because she won't drop below that 10% mbrave value. Her call ability applies the elemental damage up buff, and her LD call is the first of LD calls to enchant the party. So her LD call will enchant the party with thunder. So if you throw this on a slow unit, you will be effectively thunder enchanted for 6 turns, which is amazing. Kryl is an amazing unit, in my opinion. She's the MVP of Dimensions End 20, which is why she's on the banner for event. They really want you to use her there. She's an offensive battery thunder enchanter, but she doesn't heal. So Desh, I don't want to hear, if you have this thunder enchanter, you can skip Kryl, because I think you should evaluate Kryl on her own. Having multiple thunder enchanters is not a bad thing, but Desh, while he heals and he has weakness damage up, he does not battery at all, and his hit count is very low. Garnet has no weakness damage up, but she batteries and heals, and then Kryl is in the other realm where she batteries and has weakness damage up, but no heals. Although I think she has a C slot, so maybe you could give her some HP regen technically, but she's more offensive and more damage oriented. So compare them like that, think about it in their own terms. None of them invalidate each other. All of them have different areas of effectiveness, and this will become obvious for tier 20. Oh yeah, and by the way, I'm skipping Kryl. I don't want her. I don't need her. I just said it's not one. I have one. I need the other, but I don't need Kryl. I don't really have an affinity towards her, so I'm gonna skip. Maybe if I get lucky on, I have her EX, so if I get lucky on the free pull, obviously I'm gonna. If there is a free pull, then I'll max her, obviously, because she's a fantastic unit. She has viability for a long time, and even then she lives on as the call with helping the party out. So yeah, fantastic. I recommend her, but I personally am not going for her. Tier 20, it's a chaos, but it's a Lufenia in practice. Stay tuned for the guide on that, because I have a specific video coming out for that as well to complete my Dimensions End guide series. It's the Black and Will that we fought way back. Last time we fought the Black and Will was the Cosmos raid with Noctis or Null's release. It's 2 waves. The first is the larva form with the ads, and it likes to do a crap ton of HP attacks. It's immune to delay, paralyze, launch, sleep, terror, a bunch of stuff. This thing is nasty, and it takes increased elemental damage up. That's why they want you to bring Kryl. The second wave is the evolve form of the Black and Will, and it has 5 different phases with rotating conditions. I think the first phase is it takes more damage from it takes more elemental weakness damage. Second phase, it buffs your battery but reduces all brave damage. Third phase, if you get broken, you die. Fourth phase, if it gets a turn, you die. And fifth phase, you have 3 turns. It has to get 3 turns, and then it just wipes you entirely. Those last 3 waves also do the whole Lufenia dispel orbs, set HP to 0. So it's immune to delay, but lightning is popular there. So if you have lightning locked somewhere else, I recommend freeing her up. Warrior Light's really good here. Kryl, especially Kryl's the MVP, like I said. Yeah, just watch out. It'll be a fun one. I really enjoy this fight, and I hope you all do as well. Last event of the month, we have Boss Rush number 2. The character feature here is Hope. He's getting an 80, high armor, LD, you name it. His high armor is support armor, so the 5% extra attack and the damage cap for the party, HP damage that is. His LD gives a magic imperil debuff. It's important to get the terminology right. I usually don't but it is magic imperil. So think in terms of Orin, Irvine, Gilgamesh technically, and Fran. It makes you hit in weakness if you hit a certain damage type. So if you're doing magic damage and Hope's debuff is up, you will hit weak damage. That's what it is. He doesn't imperil magic. He doesn't enchant magic. He imperils magic. Very important to get that right. It's also 20% brave damage up. So this is again a very good debuff and also a good call. His LD is a burst heal, and you can overheal the party as well for that extra safety. Hope is all about that defense while also being offensive at the same time. Best defense has a good offense, whatever. It's a double dump that batteries the party as well, and he got tons of attack up on his limit breaks, so his batteries and his damage improves substantially. His calls are very good for one reason, because he has buff start, and when buff start comes on, Hope has the passive that extends buffs. So applying buffs on buff start counts as buff application. So when you call him in, that buff start, not only will they apply, but it will also extend any buffs, I should say. So think Gladio, anyone with a short buff. If you use Hope's call on someone with an 80, he will extend them just by being as a call. So you can get, if you have his LD as well, that means you can double dip into extending Gladio's call or Gladio's LD, for example, twice, which is insane. But he's also good on the party with him as well. He just doesn't synergize as well with Gladio because now he really wants to be in the party with magic damage units. His regular calls, Shell, which is magic defense up, or magic damage reduction, I should say, batteries the party, and the caller gets an attack up effect. And his LD call, it drops his debuff, which is the magic imperil, and he heals the party. And it, again, since he has buff start, assuming you purpled him, he will also extend there. So double tapping on the buff extension. In my opinion, Hope is a great unit. Another godly debuff in this month. Just 2 great debuffs this month. Combining Jack and Hope's debuff is like 70%. No, that's 50% brave damage up, 50% defense down, and 20 in weakness damage on magic. So if you're a magic damage dealer, you're going to be eating the entire fight. That's crazy. His heals are better. Now he's more on-demand heals outside of his EX. His mitigation per usual is good. And he comes back on Divine Alexander as super synergy on the opposite banner of Golbez to make an easier farm. I like pulling for units that make farming easier. I also think Hope is a good unit, and I don't really have anything maxed on this banner as well. Outside of Hope, I need Shadow's EX maxed, and I don't have any Cloud of Darkness weapons at all. So this is a good banner for me. I'm definitely pulling. He has great viability. He lasts a bit, and he lives on as a great call unit. So yeah, I'm going in on Hope. So the boss rush now. Oh boy. For the boss rush, Ultimecia, Jack, Kryl, Hope, Cloud of Darkness, and Shadow are synergy. So that's 6 units, right? Yeah. That's pretty the party-wide synergy now that we've had the boss rush and global is confirmed. So if you can bring a synergy unit to each team to make your life easier, try and do it. Let's see. It's 3 teams for max reward, so that's upped a bit. It's a bit less restrictive in that regard. Well, not necessarily. They just balance it around 3 teams. And the wave 1 is the Sand Kraken. I think that's the Thancred Lost Chapter boss. I haven't been playing that long. But just annoying Krakens. They delay you like crazy. And the orb is thunder damage. So they want you to bring Kryl there. Gladio is super abusable here. Because if they are targeting him and they abuse him while his LD is up, that's pretty much 100% uptime on his LD use without him getting turned. So that's the ideal strategy. They do a huge brave gain somewhere, and sometimes their attacks ignore brave damage reduction. So it'll cut through Gladio's brave damage set to 0, warrior light shields, anything, or dash, I guess. What else? That's really much the only threatening thing here. I mean, if you don't have Kryl, we have a billion Thunder Enchanters, or you could just go in with Thunder damage as a whole, like Lightning, Reno, Beatrix if you really wanted to. so not that big of a deal. Just know that this wave is pretty obnoxious, but nothing that most people probably can't handle. The Fury and Gladio Wombo combo should clap here. Throw a third Enchanter. I remember in JP for this wave, I did Gladio, Fury, and Garnet, and I did it just fine. So wave 2 is the Sam 08G. This is an Orbless wave. It's the Ulti Lost Chapter first wave, if you remember that guy. They get a frame buff that saps you, and they also get themselves some other buffs. They get like Fizz, I think it's Fizz damage resist, which is super annoying. So they're really encouraging you to bring magic damage here. I think this is when they want you to switch in Ulti, because they also have random giant brave gains. And because of that Fizz damage resist, you really want to lean on the magic damage unit as well. But again, no orb on this wave. You just want to DPS these guys down as soon as possible. The sap is annoying. I guess if you really want to dispel them somehow, you could make your life slightly easier, but whatever. Wave 3 is the Renoa boss, I think it is. The Swarmfly. It is melee resist, and it is a sap orb. So this is where they're really asking for ulti, just because this guy saps. Excuse me. And because she has a sap on her skill too. Nothing really. And the ads can come back and they can heal the boss, but I don't remember this wave being particularly threatening. Just tanky and a lot of HP. So you can't delay it forever because it needs to get a turn. X Death is a good option. I remember using Shantoto. I had her burst as well, so just damaging them down. And if you bring a melee unit, you need to enchant them, or else they're just not going to do any damage here. And the last wave is it's a new boss. It's a heavy gunner. It's a reskin of the bird, the stupid bird with the guns in the first wave of tier 14. The orb requires you to reduce brave damage via a buff. So this is crying for hope. Hope, however, can satisfy the condition even if he's used as a call, because the shell buffs last a while. Gladio can do this because he reduces damage with his buff. What's his name? Warrior Light. Anyone that's buff based, and I guess Selfie if you really wanted to, but I don't think Selfie's probably too great for boss rush, but you can probably use her. People can get creative here. Oh yeah, Beatrix too. Lots of options here, but they need to get a turn and attack you and deal less damage because of the brave reduction. So letting them not get a turn is probably not in your best interest. They turn blue and green, but I don't remember exactly what they do, but they get nasty HP attacks at some point, so just watch out for that. They're really pushing hope here. But again, easier to do without synergy. But if you do have synergy and you want to make your life easier, spread it out. Just don't be a clown on social media talking about how easy the fight was and it was overhyped when you use triple synergy on each team, because you're taking the path of least resistance and it's just a weird flex. Get a life. JP, so anyways, you can look this up because, again, I did record this. I did Furion, Gladio, and Garnet for the first team, and then Shantoto, Guy, and Rude for the second teams because what's her name? Toto satisfied the sap orb, and also I had her burst so I could abuse the extra damage there. I always try to get a burst on each team. That's my rule for boss rush. Try and get one burst on each team, and also get one synergy on each team, just to get the max stats and max damage, so I can get my theoretical best run, stomp it, and get out of there. In the third wave in JP, the third team I should say, I ran Hope, Ultimisha, and Kuja. I didn't have Ulti's burst, but I had Kuja's burst, so I just ran them down. That magic imperil for Kuja and Ulti was very, very useful. On global, I was thinking about it. I think I'll run Furion, Gladio, and Desh on the first wave for the Thunder enchant. Second wave, depends on whether I get Ulti's burst, because if I get Ulti's burst, I'm not going to use Toto. But if Ulti, Karen probably, and Toto, or someone, I'm not sure on my third team. And then on the second team, I should say. And on the third team, I'm going to probably run Hope. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll figure it out when I get there. But maybe Hope, X-Death, and Kuja. I don't know what to think. We'll figure it out there. Don't mess around with it. Try some non-synergy, non-burst runs, because that's where the real challenge is at. That's the good stuff. And again, there's no challenge in Boss Rush. It's 3 teams for max rewards, 4 teams for everything but the high armor tokens, and then 5 teams for no token and no high armor. And the global first is somewhere in there. I'm pulling on that probably. We'll see how that goes. In conclusion, happy global anniversary. I'm expecting the normal runaround during the question and answers, where they either answer things nobody cared about, or they don't answer things people do care about, and they give a total non-answer. I have nothing expected. Hopefully, we're getting the Auto Plus and the easy battle reset and other nice goodies with quality of life. As for my pull plans, again, Geo first, probably pulling. I haven't had much success with global first, but I gotta cave into the hype, content creator and all that. Definitely probably pulling there. I don't think they're gonna get LD boards, by the way, but if they do, it's cool. Going for Ramza's LD, and I'm gonna token his burst. I'm going for Penelo's LD, and then I'm going for Hope's LD. Everything else this month I am skipping because I got drained. I had a burst pity last month and then 2 LD pities, and I dumped an inane amount of tickets. So yeah, I'm pulling back a little. Next month is going to be heavy. Most excited for the global first, obviously, and anniversary goodies and quality of life. I can't stress it enough. I really want auto plus. Divine Diabolos, I'm looking forward to that just for the summon farming music, and if we can auto plus during it, it'll be even better. And I'm always excited for boss rush because it's cool to mess around with the creativity that the game gives us. And that is all I have to say. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, share, and drop a comment about your plans. I'll be replying to everything, so don't hesitate to ask questions. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great existence, and I'll catch you later. Bye.